Mr.
Yes, sir.
Are you using CTU email?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nag-add na pud mo sa kuan, nagpa-add mo sa Google Classroom.
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. So i-add na lang inyong account daan sa Google Classroom para dili ta mag-manual og verify igsud sa ato ang Google Meet. Okay? So mamalihog sad ta og sulti ni Miss Manggubat, i-add lang sa classroom. Okay? Iyang account before siya mo join sa Google Meet. Yeah, huwat-huwat sa ta sa uban ha. So, bumalihog sa ta guys for Mr. Nigre. Pakisulti lang niya nga i-add lang sa iyang account sa Google Classroom before mo join sa Google Meet. Mr. Nigre, naka-add na ka sa classroom. Calling Mr. Nigre, naka-add na ka sa Google Classroom. Okay. Are you using your CPU email address, Mr. Nigle? Okay. Sige. Wait lang sa tasauban, guys. Miss Igot, sila Albarazin o Miss Durango ba? Musul pa ba sila sa atong klase ron? Mr. Niadas. Si Kinsa si? Kananigo, okay. Katong sa INC? Sige lang kay nagpangita pa ko asa sad na nga form ko aon. Kay murag wala mi diri. Sige lang, wa pa lang ko ka-reply niya, paki-inform lang niya, nakabasa na ko siyang email. Yeah, still looking kung asa kwaon po na siya nga form. Okay. So, sila Albarazin o Ijurango, kinsay mga close friends nila diri? Na ay mga close friends ni Albarazin o Ijurango from this section? Anyone? Guys, girls, dudes and dudettes? No? What jud sila ka close dire? Okay. Mayor, wala sila mananghid nimo mayor.
Mo contact pa daw sila sa department nga ilang shiftan sir, di pa sad ko sure ko. Mosulod ba sila?
So far wala sila moingon silang plans nga minors na lang ilang sudlan o di na sila musud sa major subject. Wala. Wala ra mo share. Okay. So with regards sa ana guys, there are some who were planning to shift naman to another course. Okay, so I think based lang sad sa comments sa ubang departments is that if mo shift man gani kuno sa ubang course, usually it should be done mga first sem na daw. Okay, okay. Murag dili daw di daw manawat ang ubang department during second semester. Okay? So mo lang nadaan for those who are planning to shift to another course. Okay? So ipahibaw lang nako nga second semester is not a good time to shift because likely di ra pud na siya maaproban ang request to shift to another course. Okay? So anyway, kinsa pa may usa wala. 29, so naitulo nga dili ka-attend. Okay? So aside from Canonigo, Albarracin, and Endurango, kinsa pa'y usa na pa'y usa. Kinsa pa may wala din. Okay. Marag sekto na dito. Tulo ka buo. Si Lucero. Wala si Lucero ron. Jamaica. Lucero. Wala si Lucero. Okay. So, nakay idea, Mr. Valyesado, if asa si Miss Lucero? Unattended yung number. Okay. Let me check though. Okay ra. So far, naka-attend naman siya last time. Sige. So anyway, I think murag wala na tayo gipaabot, no? Okay, so before we begin, can we turn on our cameras, please? And let me check lang if I can change my setting. O asa man ang setting na usab. Sige. Posing sa mo dira ka jud guys. Okay. Okay. Sige. Ayaw lakpog niya ang katawa, makautot niya mong di oras. Sa paman, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 27. Okay. Di mo update ko. Saita. Bati ka pagka-plaster ng camera eh. Ilong man natin makita ani. Okay, so anyway, kita lang niya kung laing camera para ang camera nasa ibabaw. Kay currently laing kayo ang position sa camera ani sa ilaw. So klaro kayong lisngag sa ilong. Okay, so far kumusta man ang inyong sabi na siya 2 weeks nga bakasyon? Okay? Okay ra? So kung lang sa taron, meet and greet. Okay? So after sa bagyong Odette, Isa pa man, napabay laing problema. Maragwa naman siguro, no? So far, are you ready na for the upcoming face-to-face sessions? Ha? Di pa? Di pa ninyo mabuhian ang habit nga ikabuntag sa iyo before musud sa klase, okay ra di maligo. Murag daghan kay nakarelate ay. Yay. Okay. So far, the subject, just to give you an overview, is all about object-oriented programming. Okay? So based on the subject that you will be taking up right now, may idea gamay about the subject matter? Okay? So pagkaingon object-oriented programming, related ra sa previous no? Programming languages. Okay? So, pangutana, would we be learning another language for programming? Okay? So what do you think? Okay? Naa. Okay, so natay another programming language nga kat-uno na pod. Okay, now we have probably two choices nga programming language nga pwede natong gamiton for this class. Okay? Kay basically kani nga class manggod is more on concept sa kani gitawag nato nga object-oriented programming. So dili kayo specific into a particular language, but of course with all those languages that supports object-oriented programming, lain pod kayo ato silang tilapan tanan. Okay? So we'll just pick one programming language, okay, para ma-apply nato ang concept aning gitawag nato nga OOP. Lain jud kaayo ang posisyon sa camera. Okay? Magdaan niya ako ang camera kay murag conscious man tani ato ang camera nga naa sa ilawom sa atong ilong Okay? So basically, again, going back to what I told you earlier, we'll be focusing on one programming language, and this programming language that we'll be using for this class is C#. Okay, so C#, by the way, is basically like an improvement for the C programming language. So that means kung unsa to yung mga nakatunan ninyo before sa programming, okay, in C, ato alam to siyang punan. Okay? So, punan nato og concepts that are widely used in object-oriented programming. Okay? So, why C#? Okay? So, why not just use Java? Or why not just use Python? Okay? So, basically, when we are trying to learn C# manggod, medyo gamay-gamay na lang ang ato ang dapat katunon. Okay? When you migrate from the C programming language to C#. Okay? So, gamay na lang kayo ang kausaban dyan. Actually, pari-pariha ra pud sa Java. Okay? Gamay na lang pud kayo ang ato ang adjustment nga pagabuhaton when we are trying to learn the Java programming language. However, unlike C# and Java, when you try to migrate from C to Python, medyo dako ang learning curve or adjustment ng inyong pagabuhaton. Okay? So there will be a lot of rules nga mura bag ma-neglect dito sa nakatunan ninyo sa C programming over diri sa Python. Okay? So para lang medyo continuous lang sa ato ang learning curve, okay, we'll just proceed with the language na dool sa inyong previous nga nakatunan. Total, ang Java later on, inyo haram gyapon na siyang ma-encounter on other subjects. Okay, kabot ninyo yung software design. Okay, wherein you will be taught how to program in Java. Okay, so aside from that, I will also be requiring you guys to download an IDE nga ato anyang gamiton for this subject. Okay, so an IDE which is called as Visual Studio. Okay, so ako lang i-type dere para medyo maklaro. So, isugod-sugod na ninyo download, especially for those na medyo hinay og internet connection. Okay? So for those with fast internet connection, I think you might want to try this out. Okay? Katong mga kusog internet connection at the same time medyo kusog-kusog og computer kay this IDE medyo dako ni siya og requirement. Okay? So another IDE nga pwede nato gamiton is kani si um, si Sharp Develop. Okay? Asa naman ko nawagatan naman. Okay? So for those nga medyo hinay-hinay ang computer, pwede na ninyo i-search kana si Sharp Develop. So which is basically free na siya. In a way, mura siya lighter version sa Visual Studio, and since it's free, di kay taka-expect og stability. Okay? Kung magamit ani niya. Sometimes there are occasional murag crashes every time you use this software. But okay, kana baduha ang i-download. Okay? Pwede rang usa. Okay? So again, as what I've told you, if you have a fast internet connection and a good computer, so when you say good computer, that means ang specs nimo medyo taas, daog RAM, kusog og processor speed, then go for Visual Studio. Okay? So you can download Visual Studio for free. Naatay kanang gitawag na community edition wherein all you need to do is just register your account, okay, for your free license. So you don't need to pay anything for that. Okay, but of course, if ganahan mo og kanang mga buak nga version, okay, nara say ma-download nga mga buak nga version. But of course, we are not promoting that. Akto na lang ta sa free version. Total, all the things that we need, all the features that we will be using, lara man sa free version. So let's promote the legal use of this software. Okay? Para support po sa mga developers. Okay? So Sharp Develop, para dito sa mga computers na medyo hinay-hinay. And for those computers or katong na mga hinay o internet connection. Okay? So you can opt with Sharp Develop. Okay? Napo ba'y tigamit o kung diri cellphone kung mag-program? Hopefully, wala na. Okay. Kinsa to? Napo ba'y nagamit o kung cellphone para mag-program? Kinsa to? Nainisa ka mo usa.
Ako sir, sumadto ko computeran.
Muadto kang computeran. So, dito sa mga computeran ba, pwede ka maka-install og program dito or naka-deep freeze siya?
Naka-deep freeze siya sir.
Naka-deep freeze. So, pwede ra ka mag-plug og USB.
Oh.
Pwede ra mo basa og USB. So, I think better alternative for you is to make use of kaning Sharp Develop kay kunin siya murag portable version. Pwede ra nimong padagan on your flash drive. Okay? So, naapod tay application for the cellphone. Okay? Pero I really don't suggest that you program on your cellphone kay medyo limited lang kayo ang capabilities. Okay? So, we will do some simple UI programming, okay, on C#, and this might become a headache for you when you implement this type of programs. Okay? So, okay lang tong cellphone gamiton kung nag-C programming ta. Kay more on console programming man. But if we're gonna be programming using C#, okay, we might be using some user interface. Okay, mag-create of mga forms. Okay, like mo gamit mo mga buttons. Okay, or basically unsa ng mga makita ninyo nga mga application sa inyong computer right now, pwede ra jud ninyo mabuhat with C#. Okay, so it is much more easier to do that when you have these tools like Visual Studio and Sharp Develop. Okay? So, sige. Muna itubag. Kung nangutanag, i-download ba ang duha? Okay? Pwede ra usara i-download. Okay? So, kung kusog ang internet connection, kung kusog ang computer, go for Visual Studio. But if medyo limited ang internet connection, hinay ang computer, or you don't own a computer, might as well make use a Sharp Develop application. Kay portable version naman siya. Pwede ra siya masud sa flash drive. Ang problema lang, if you're using lagi flash drive kay ako sa internet cafe, di ka maka-practice. So I think medyo medyo magamit po di ang compiler sa cellphone. One of the compilers na nagamit namo before for this subject is kaning C# shell. Okay? So I just put it here again. Ma-download ra ni siya. C# shell. We can also use that for practice kung naalang sa cellphone. Okay? Para lang ma-familiarize sa syntax. Okay? So, kung amoy lingaw, okay, naamo sa jeep nagsakay, naamoy nahuna-hunaan, okay, nakahuna-huna mo siyang utang, yet di mo ganahan makunahunag utang, pwede mo magkunahuna about a simple program. Abli din mong cellphone. Code mo dito ginagmay. Okay? So, bisag mga console-based programming lang. Okay? So, kana siya sa C# shell. So, what's so good about this? Offline lang siya. You don't need internet connection for you to be able to compile the code. Okay? So, money advantage niya. Okay. So, ang course outline, I'll be giving you the course outline next meeting na. Okay? Kay ako asang i-modify ang content sa course na alang ko'y usbon gamay sa ato ang content sa course. Okay? So far, during your project making, guys, okay? Unsay mga lingaw kaayo nga mga experience ninyo nga inyong na-encounter when you were creating your project. Okay? Na-feel na ba ninyo nga mura mo computer engineer when you were doing your project? Okay? Doing the design, okay? Sumpaki gamay sa kagrupo, kay nakay ganahan nga buhaton, yang usa na sa ilaing ihang ganahan buhaton, di mo magkasinabot. Okay? Naka-encounter na ba mo ana when you were making your project? Okay? So feel free to talk. You can unmute your mic. Okay? Okay. So everything went smoothly when you were creating your project, and hopefully it was a group project. O dili lang usa ka tawo ang gabuhat, yang uban igo ra unsa na siya. Kanang gitawag nato nga moral support. Igo ra tig cheer. Okay. So hopefully ni kwantanan ni contribute. Okay? So even with the design. Okay? So I could actually see some quandary kanang mga okay ra pod nga project. Okay? But majority, I think murag text-based ra jud ang uban. Okay? So wala kay mo gamit atong gihatag pod nako nga library for you to be able to change the colors and to make use of the ASCII code. Okay? To make your user interface a little bit more lively. Okay? Ang uban kay focus ra kaayo sa console-based programming. Okay? Sige daw. Let's try to browse some of those projects. Kasi ganahan mo present sa ilahang project. para makakita ko ng uban. So, mangayo na lang kung kuha ninyo. Mangayo ko o permission ninyo for me to open that project. O ipakita sa inyong classmate kung unsa to'y murag development phase sa pag-create ninyo sa inyong project last semester. Okay? So, we may be implementing them again, okay, using the C# language. Okay, so para makita na to ba how your program from C will evolve into something more complex baron in the future. Okay, so ngita tagkuan ha. Asa man tong actually wa pa dyan ako matiwas ni kwan guys. Open tanang projects ninyo. Okay. Kinsa may ganahan ni percent. Okay. Okay ra ba? Clear akong tingog, guys? Clear, ha? Okay, wa jiris pa ng uban. Okay, maglibog kog nakadungog ba kay uban ano ra? Tora. Okay. Uy, feel free to speak up, uy. Practice ba para kuan face to face. Okay? Kaya saon na lang kung mag face to face tayo kung na chat ra pud gihapon mo ipangutanan nako. Okay? Mag-atubang ngayon niya nanya biya tapuhon. Okay, so far wala pa may kuan no news. Wala pa mo kapang hearing from SSG as to when the face to face will be applied in CTU. Wala pa. Habot sa other schools, kinsa nga schools ang inyong nadunggan nga nagkuan na nag-apply na og face to face or nag face to face na? Wala. Why good? Yeah. Okay. Wala. Okay, wa mo masuya sa uban yung silingan dira nga nag face to face na. Wala ra jud. Okay. So, kasagaran diri sa mga projects ninyo no is more on mga guessing game. Okay? Mga usab ni siya. Who wants to be a millionaire? Okay, nabay medyo graphics based diri, wa ko'y nakitaan nga graphics based or wa pa lang kumahuman og check. Okay. Oh, naaday oh. Okay. Ato ang tan-awon kaning project nila Miss Carbos. Miss Carbos, okay ra ato ang share inyong project. Okay. Asa ninyo gi-develop Miss Carbos ang inyong project? Sa Embarcadero ra?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sige. Try na itong padagan guys ang ilahang gibuhat. Okay? So, usa ni siya sa mga classic games. Okay? Nya, purely text-based ra jud ang ilahang gigamit. And let me copy that. Okay. Okay, hasa naman ito.
Boss Jeda, boss, ako pa rin mga ito, kasi tuloy daw sa ikaw na outside ha? Ikaw na outside ba? Outside ba?
I see. Ulit-ulit. Okay, so let me share. Okay. Miss Carbos, okay ra? Ato ang share ang iyong gibuhat.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. Para makakita po ng uban. Window. Okay. percent. Nakita ra ba guys? Wala. Wala. Presentation. Okay, kagat lang. Okay. Okay, how about ka na? Were you able to see? Okay. So, tanaw lang na to ang daghan sa ilang program. So, this was all created in Embarcadero. Okay. So, daray lahat guys. Okay? Maklaro na ba? Okay. So, purely text. Okay? So, nasa lang menu. Okay? Ang problema, let's say user interface. Okay? So, sige. Para makakita lang sa how can we improve the user interface? Let's say, for example, kani. Okay? Tic-tac-toe, start game, credits, exit game. Okay? In terms of usability. Okay? Kung kamoy mo gamit ani niya. Okay? Unsay tanaw ninyo improvement nga pwede ninyong mabuhat. Okay. So for example, ikaw user, okay, you will be presented with this view. Okay, medyo makalibog kung unsay sunod buhaton. Diba? Night text, nakabutang, start game, credits, exit game, but basically, how would you select these three? Okay, so nindot unta to, bisag naman like prompt diri ba? Enter a choice, 1, 2, or 3. Okay? So, di po na to magamit ang ato ang mouse for that. Okay? So, exit siya when I use my down mouse. Okay? So, Miss Carbos, unsay ato ang buhaton ani? With the menu. Okay? So, as what we can see in the menu, okay, sa ilahang gibuhat is that expected mo type ka og number. Diba? So, hindi pa ko makabaw kung unsay buhaton if you look at their code. Okay? Isa pa tayo kauban ni mo ani Miss Carbos?
Miss Mahinay, sir.
Si Miss Mahinay. O kinsa pa?
Kamera duha, sir.
Kamura, di ba? Girl power. Okay. So, manila ha guys, ang tic-tac-toe. So, ako ang gi-press ang 1, result ko sa game. Okay? So, first player is X, second player is 0. So, enter a number. So, basically, gimap nila daan. Okay? Para pili na lang ko asa nga position. So, player 1, X. I will say, let's say number 5. Okay? So, I have to press enter. Okay, so as you can see, mo na ilang strategy para may bawaan nga change player, mausab ang color. Okay, so let's say number 3 baro. Okay, balik na po to blue para sa first. Okay, so let's say 1. Isa may padaugon na to guys. Okay, punuhay para medyo challenge. 9. Okay, so kinsay sunod nato ibutang dire. Let's put on 4 baron. Okay. So, let's put in 7. Okay, patrailing kayo, no? Then, daog ra po bihapon di ay. Okay. So, mo nilang UI. Okay, nga gigamit. Which is basically more on text ra jud ang gigamit nila. Okay? So, did you remember kato ko ang suggestion nga gihatag ninyo for your UI para maka-create jud mo clean nga box? Okay? Naka-remember pa mo ato, guys? Wala na. Wala na jud. Wala na jud sila ka-remember ato. Okay? So again, for you to be able to create a more visually appealing nga UI, okay, instead of using pure characters, okay, you can make use of ASCII codes. Okay? Unsa man ang ASCII codes? So let me give you some example. Okay, so let's try to create a new file. Okay, so short. Ito ang walang kamatayang include STDIO. So we'll just create here lang sa a loop. Okay. 2, 5, 6. Okay. So very useful ang kani to generate your ASCII code. Okay. Okay. So of course, ang ASCII code is basically, ang sa ganito ng ASCII code, characters with their corresponding decimal number. Okay, so each decimal number has this corresponding ASCII code. So numbering from 0 to 255. Okay. So we'll just print I there. Okay. So print nato si I as a character or si I as a number. So I think it would be better if number first, then the equivalent character. So butang lang tao /n. Okay. So we'll just use this to generate the ASCII equivalent for each code. So many guys. So dara. So as you can see, okay, these are just some of those blocks that you are able to use, okay, to create those so-called user interface. Okay. Now, let's say for instance, creating boxes. Okay, like if you want to create an interface, okay, na murag somewhat like this. Thank you. So interfaces, something like this. Okay. Kana. Naka-imagine mo guys, okay? How will you create that if you're gonna be using C? Okay? So to create this type of interface in C, tanaw na nimo diri ang ASCII code nga pwede natong gamiton. Okay? So let's say looking for that, okay? Asa may mga pwede natong magamit diri. So makita nato kani upper corner. Okay. So let's try to use another color. Okay. So ana siya o kung say code gigamit for that part 187. Okay? So muha na lang nang i-take note dayon 187. Ano yung gigamit na ASCII code. Og ni kamang. Okay. So ana 187. So unsa pay pwede na to magamit for this one? So naapoy 188. Okay, which is ang lower right corner, which is this part. Okay. So mga pinagutang dira 188. So unsa pa ang pwede na to magamit? Okay. So here 201, which is asa na siya nga part. So let me just lower that. Ani. Okay, so which is 201. So imagine guys, katong mga naghimo-himo og mga games sa una or application based on console apps, mao ni gipangbuhat nila. Okay, lingaw kaayo. Okay? So ang uban ani wa jud mo gamit. Okay? So this could actually make it a little bit more interesting to look at ang inyong code. Okay? So a little bit more how should we say it? A little bit more professional kung sa baga. So 202, which is asam ng 202 dapita guys. Okay? So 202, we have this. 202. Yeah, kaning part, asam na siya. Sige daw. Tabangi ko pangita. Dara 203. Okay. Where else? So we need to find this part and this part. Okay. So 204, which is this. O ang pika side, asam na ito ng taon. Probably nani siya sa 100. Dara, 185. Doon dito lagi sila. 185. Okay. So, napabatay lang yung pangitaon guys, aside from those. Okay. So, of course, we'll also be needing this part. Diba? Taas mo na siya. We'll also be needing this part here. Okay. So, we have here 186. Okay. So, 186. And we'll also have 200, 180. So, it should be somewhere here. Siguro na siya. 205. Okay. So, wala guys. Okay. So, those are the ASCII codes that you will be needing, okay, to create this box over here. Okay. So, once na nakaitandanan, pwede na rin mo i-code. Okay. So, let me just comment that out. Okay. So of course, pinambano na lang sa nato. Hindi lang sa tamo gamit og loops. But if you've remembered, katong gibuhat nato last time, katong nagamit ta og na ay function nga box, pwede nato ito siya magamit. Okay? Pero of course, mag-manual lang po tao. Create sa code, okay, for it to be able to generate this part. Okay. So for now, tinamban lang sa ata. Okay. So for this one, %C. Okay. Butangan lang sa natin %C. And what else? Need to unta ni kung na function. Okay? Para dili hassle, but since atoan namang nakuha ang ASCII code, tinambanan lang sa nato para mapurma lang ni nato for now. Okay? So, let's see, %C. %C. Alam na niyo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So, unsay una, 201. Okay. So, ako lang ibutang sa kilid. So butang sa kilid para tantanan. It would also help if you just write that up. Okay. So, money gamit sa loops. Unta. So, pinamban pa man ta. So, money na lang sa 205 right? So, duha lang ya sa 203, pila gamito na to. 203, 203. Then, pila pa 205, pagamihan lang sa siguro na to para dili kayo dako ang mahitabo mga box. Then, 187. So, pila naman? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's add one more para maabot og 10. Okay. Og sombra. So, ingani na siya guys. Okay? For the upper part. Okay? Kabantay mo. Okay? So, di ba, mas nindot siya tanawon nga murag na porma na siyang box as compared kung ang gigamit nimo is something like this. Okay? Kung nag-print if lang ka, o inani ra nimo. Pipeline. Okay. Compared to something like this. Okay. So, kani purely text, and this one we were using the ASCII codes. Okay. So, sige, ato lang ipadayon. Para makita na to. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, a very small box lang ato ang i-create. Okay. So, 188. So, there is 205. 205. So, this is 200. So, kani is 186. So, there is space, then 202. Kuwangan kadiri o usa. Okay. Okay. Guys, are you still there? Kuwangan pa rin tagari o usa ka. 186. Ayan. Minsan ka na sa rin niya.
Hindi, sa kuan, sir. Sa tanang teacher's load. Okay na.
Sorry. So here guys is our final product. Okay? So muna ito ang box nga na-create using ASCII code. Okay? So, di ba, kung mag-create mo UI and if your UI looks like this, it is visually more appealing as compared to you using purely text. Okay? So, ang ubanan ni, aside from dash o pipeline, asterisk na lang gigamit. Okay? So, mo na gamitan na guys sa ASCII code. So, imagine mga application sa una, katong mga karaan pa, wa pa mauso si Windows. When they create their user interface in town, ang ilang mga gipanggamit. Okay? So, let me show you one application na gibuhat with that concept using ASCII code. Code ni kamang ang akong computer. So, ambot nagbukit pa baka nino? Bukit pa dito siya. Okay. Let me download it and see if it still runs. Okay. So, sa unang panahon, mao ni usa sa mga pinaka sikat na C compiler na gigamit. Okay. And hindi siya ma-download. Bakit? Oh. So, pina-install ka dito siya. Di na dito siya madagan. Okay. Okay, di na dito siya madagan. Okay. So anyway, just to show you na lang, okay, kaning gitawag nato nga Turbo C, okay, usa sa mga sikat kay nga compiler sa unang panahon na, okay, is this one. Okay, so as you can see guys, okay, kanayang user interface, okay, are all created also in C nga language. So imagine nag-create of IDE to program C. Okay, and here is one that is using C language, okay, to create this IDE. Okay. So kung ni siya, an application wherein dili nimo magamitan og mouse, purely keyboard ra jud. Okay? So if you look closely kanang itsura nga makita nimo dira, all those are all found here. Okay? So naatanan diri makita nimo unsay gipanggamit. Okay? So for example, kana nga part.
My job is to make college easy.
So tamang ang ato ang internet. Okay. So kung magtanaw ka diri nga part, okay, so that is actually found here. Okay. Kana siya, nga hot chess. Okay. So imagine, okay, programming sa una ing-ani ang itsura sa mga UI ninyo. Okay? Wala pa na mauso ang kanang gitawag nato nga mga forms. Okay? Kung mag-open kag multiple file, it will be just looking like this. Okay? Nga mura ra gi overlap ang pag-print sa information. Okay? So anyway, mo lang na siya. FYI lang. Okay? Kung wa mo lingaw, you might want to improve on your UI. Okay? So, last time po, okay, I was not able to demonstrate to you katong sample use no, sa two-dimensional array. Okay? So, upon looking at your project, gamit dayon ta kayo to siya. Especially when you're trying to create the so-called guessing games. Okay, so kasagaran ninyo when implementing that so-called guessing games, puro if then else statement, no? Okay, sakto ba? People? Hello, are you still here, guys? Can I hear your voice? Okay, sige. So, let me show you, okay, a simple implementation, okay, of using arrays to implement katong gitawag na ko nga flowchart. Okay, so I'll just create here a very kanang gitawag nila nga state diagram. Okay. So imagine a state diagram as similar to the decision box nga to ang gigamit-gamit sa kanang gigamit-gamit nato sa flowcharting. Okay? So let's try to create a decision. Okay? So probably composed of 3 decisions. Okay? So the decisions that you will be creating here will be answerable by yes or no. Okay? So that means if you are given or you are asked to decide between a question that will be answered by yes and a no, so that means based on the decision, you will be forwarded to another scenario. Okay? And wherein in that scenario, you will be then asked to make a decision again. Okay, so imagine lang, let's say, it's like a maze. Okay, like the game that some of you created, katong decision-making game. Let's say, ato lang ning panganlan o S0. So meaning scene 0. Since when you are into programming, uso man jud kayo ang indexing na mag-start of 0. So let's just call this as scene 1, scene 2, and scene 3. Okay? So if you are on scene 0, let's say gipangutana ka na kay option as to whether moadto ba kag scene 1 or scene 2. Okay? So let's say if this is an answer nga yes and this is an answer nga no. Okay? So imagine lang, okay? So kani this is what we call as a state diagram. So kanang scenario, kanang scene or kanang na question, we refer to that as your state. Okay? So after going into another state, again, you will be asked by questions yes or no. So asa man ta padong. So let's say kung may og no, padong diri sa S2. Okay? And when you say yes, you go to S3. So something like this. And let's say when you are on scene 2 and you say, oops, and you say, let's say no, pabiling ka sa S2. Pero if you say yes, anhi ka sa S3. Okay? So let's just say kanang gitawag natong S3 mo na end. Okay? So we could actually create a more complicated diagram than this, okay? Given that let's say sa imong game nga buhaton daghan kag scene. Okay? So diri lang nalang tay tulo ka scene. Okay? So probably the start, then mga choices, then the end. Okay? So you can actually also have multiple ends. So how can we convert this diagram into a program? Okay? So again, in C. Okay? Now, upon looking at the diagram, we could actually convert this into a table. Okay? So, I'll be using an Excel sheet, okay, to create the table. Okay? So, sa table, natay gitawag na rows, natay gitawag na columns. So, ato ni siyang bilang og scene. So, we have scene 0, scene 1, scene 2, and scene 3. Okay? And you also have here your answers, which is either sa ganito, no or yes. Okay? So, look closely guys how I convert this diagram into a two-dimensional table, because this two-dimensional table will serve as our solution, okay, when creating our program for this problem. Okay, so one thing is that starting at scene 0, naa kay tubag na either yes or no, and from that questions of yours na yes or no, naa kay padungan asa ka base sa imong answer. So let's say if you are in scene 0, motubag kag yes, you are forwarded to scene 1. If motubag kag 2, you are forwarded to scene 2. And if you are on scene 1, mo answer kag yes or no, ma-forward na po kag laing scene. So let's say if you say no, adto ka sa scene 2. If you say yes, adto ka sa scene 3. So basically the process magbalik-balik ra jud na siya. So let's say again here for scene 2, balik ra pud siya sa scene 2. And when you say yes, adto siya sa scene 3. And when you're in scene 3, basically, be it ang answer nimo yes or no, that is the end of the game or end of the story. Oops. So, pabilin ra sa scene 3. Or pwede ra sad ka moingon og exit sa program. Okay? So, ato lang nang ibutang diri. S3 and S3. So, pwede ra po na imo dili na butangan. Okay, but para makompleto lang ang ato ang table, I'll do this. Okay? Next. Okay, how to convert this information into a program. Okay? So, medyo nalimot ko. Okay? Kung saan ganito pag-create og two-dimensional array. Okay? Could someone remind me? Okay? Unsay kailangan nako sa syntax para maka-create og two-dimensional array? Okay? So review lang tani guys. Okay? But because basically mag-ian ra pud na nato in our topic in OOP. So refresher course kay medyo taas-taas ang bakasyon, 2 weeks pod, di ba? Bisag nalimot na mo unsaon pag-program. Okay? So sige daw. Whom should I ask here? Let's call on isa may tawagan na to. Mr. Mr. Ronald Legis. Okay? If I am to create a two-dimensional array, how would I write that here in my code? Okay. Sige, unsay syntax ana, Mr. Legis? Hello, are you still here, Mr. Legis? Hello, guys, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Di man mutubag si Mr. Legis na ako baka. Sige daw, bi, on balik ang camera, bi. Bisag na malik ni tog ang uban. Okay. Natog nakahinumdong pa ba og two-dimensional array. Okay. So if we are trying to convert this into a game, okay, or into a program, okay, we would need a variable that would represent the scene. Okay, so I'll just use an integer for that. Okay, so I'll initialize that with a value of 0. Okay, now for the answer nga yes o no, ako ara po na siyang i-interpret into a number since when you are using a two-dimensional array, di ba ang index is using numbers man, di makakagamit of characters. So, I'll just say int answer. Ako ara po nang i-interpret as yes or no, see 0 and 1. So 0, that will be equivalent to no, and 1 equivalent to yes. So ano lang. Possibly manggod, you'll be creating also kanang mga choose your own adventure wherein dili lang duha ka choices ang pwede, di ba? Pwede multiple choices. Okay? Ang anay, yes, no, napoy maybe. Okay? So, kana. Ang next, asa naman to si Mr. Ligis? So, anak ko balikin ni Mr. Ligis. Mao na ron. Nag-left the meeting. Tara na, balik. Okay, Mr. Ligis, are you still with us? Can you hear me clearly? Okay, who would want to help Mr. Ligis remind me of how to use a two-dimensional array in C programming? Murag nag-okay pa si Mr. Ligis sa iyang notes. Nangita unsa man to nga chapter B. Kinsa man tayo nakahinumdom or kinsa man tayo nagamit og two-dimensional array sa ilahang project. Wala. Okay, why nakagamit og two-dimensional array sa ilang project? Single dimension ra. Single dimension ra. Or kasagaran dyan, no? Gamit kaayo si loops o if-else statement. Okay? Now, this is actually, guys, an alternative for using else-if statement. Okay? Ang paggamit of two-dimensional array. Okay? What do we need to create a two-dimensional array?
Data type, then
So, ang data type, di ba?
array name, then ang construct,
Okay.
rows and column.
So, array name. How would we name this. I'll just call this as my. So since we are creating a state diagram, I'll just call this a state table. Okay. So sa state table, okay, you have the number of rows and the number of columns. Okay. So for the rows and column part, unsay ato ang ibutang for the rows and column part. Okay. So for the rows and column part, guys, ato arang ibutang dira is kani nga information that we have derived. Okay? So instead of naming that scene as S0, what you can do actually there is you could interpret kaning S0, S1, S2, and S3 into a number gyapon. Okay? So instead nga na S, ato lang nang butangan og 0. Okay? So in this case, this is what my two-dimensional array would look like. Okay? Without the S. So scene 2, scene 1, then you have scene 2 again, then scene 3, then we have scene 2 again and scene 3. Okay. And lastly, scene 3 and scene 3. Kung nagbuot na po si Bartadero. Okay. So, nga niya nga ito ang gamiton. Okay? So, this first column here would represent where you will be going based on the answer na no. And this second column here will represent the answer for the yes. Okay? Whereas, okay, kanisiya, okay, this will be representing your scene 0. Okay. So this is a scene 1, scene 2, and scene 3. Okay. So, mo na siya, guys. Okay? Ang iyahang explanation. Okay? This column is for the no, this column here is for the yes, and this row here will be representing scene 0. Okay? Scene 0, asa kamuag to if you choose no, and if you choose yes. Okay? So, mo ni murag pinaka-map na to, guys. And again, what's so good about implementing the program using a two-dimensional array like this is if ever na kay usbon niya sa imong state table dire, all you need to do is modify the entries here on your state table. Okay? So, mauro na siya. Now, let's see what to do next. How do we use those information? How do we use those variables? So, the actual gameplay would now look like this. Okay? So, of course, we will be needing a loop. Okay? So, let's say while 1. I'll just use while 1. So, pasabot sa while 1. What does while 1 there means? Could someone remind me what does while 1 means? Kung sa'y pasabot, ana. Kung makakita, tagingan na nga part sa code. While 1. Infinite. Okay? So, that's an infinite loop. Magbalik-balik siya. Okay. So, next. Okay. Next would be, it would be better siguro if naatay ko, if we create a function. Okay? So I'll just create a function. I'll call those function as, let's say, scenes. Okay? Representing scene 0. Okay? So para mas simplify lang nato ang ato ang program. Okay? So what should we put here on the scene? Simple lang, para kabaw lang ta. Okay? Kung sa i-execute niya sunod. Okay? So let's say scene 0. So after printing scene 0, naman din na siya naman na siya i-question. Okay? I'll just put there any question. That will be answerable by either 0 for no and 1 for yes. Ano lang. Okay. So you could actually put here any question. Depende kung sa ganahan mo. So I'll just put there any question lang. Okay. So that is for scene 1. Then let's just replicate that for scene 2. Slash n. Scene 1, scene 2, and scene 3. Okay. So, nanatay function, okay, para i-display kung unsay mahitabo every time we visit these scenes here. Okay. So, what do we do next? Okay, so I'll use a switch. Okay. Para mahibawan nato asa tanga scene would go. Okay, and for that, okay, so if the scene is case 0, then what do we do? Okay, we call scene 0. Okay. So, lang. Oh, let's also define our function prototype sa ibabaw. One, two, okay. So again, scene, okay, to where you will be going to, then this will be the variable that will be holding your decision, kung yes or no ba, and this is our state table. So, since naka-define naman ta nga we will start at scene 0, so expected i-sulod niya sa switch, kani nga scene, may una niyang i-trigger. Then of course, critical break. Then, balik-balik na lang siya. So that would be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Okay. So, magbutang na lang ta. Code. Default. So this will be acting like your guys. Murag template na siya. Okay? Wala ra jud kay tayo usbon na din. Okay? So of course, after mapakita na to ang scene, then what? You will be asked mandiri, okay, to answer a question. Okay? And for that, kailangan nato basahon. Okay? Ang input. Okay? Then, how do we read the input? Okay. How to read the input? So, need ta mag-scan. Now, since we are using decimal, gently, then ampersand, asa ko natin butang ang decision, anhisa, answer. Okay? So, butang nato sa answer. Okay? So, since na kay answer, base sa given question, what do we need to do next? Dapat mahibawa nato where to go. Okay? So, that means the next scene nga imuhang visit would be taken from the so-called state table. Okay? O kung sa may naa dapat sa state table, of course, ang previous nga scene, which is kani. And of course, base sa imuhang answer. Okay? Nakita ninyo guys how it goes? So, para mahibaw nato unsay next nga scene, gamito nato ang two-dimensional array. The two-dimensional array will act like a lookup table. It will act like a map. Kung unsay current scene, let's say kung naa siya sa scene 0, and depende sa answer ni mong itubag, let's say ang answer nimo is 1 baron, asa man ka padong ana. So unsa may 0, unsa may 1, scene 0. Then ang tubag nimo is 1. So 0, 1. So you will be going to scene 1. Okay? And that is how your lookup table works. Okay? So of course, after defining the scene, since this is an infinite loop, it will again go back here. Okay? Showing the scene. So, mausab na pod ang iyang i-display dire. Then again, asking you for another answer. Then, balik ko na po na niya recompute. Now, let's see. Okay? Yeah. Incomplete int. Sagol na ko ang C#. So, tangan na lang nato. Bilang ni 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 rows and 2 columns. And typo error. And the label. Okay. So, muna ni Sharon guys. Okay. So, let's put this diagram side by side. Okay. O, tanaw na to. Musubay ba siya? Okay. So, you are here on scene 0. Okay. So, kung matubag ko o yes or no, so let's say I want to go to scene 1. So, scene 1, to go to scene 1, I need to answer yes. To answer yes, I need to type 1. Okay. Oh, wait sa. Anong wala siya mabtog scene 1? Uy.
Scene 0, tanan zero ang nasa.
Wa day mausab. Puros manin, naka-scene 0. Balik. Sorry for that. Money. Sige, cut and paste. Wa ma-update. Okay. So, again, base dire, answer tag yes. So as you can see, na naka sa scene 1. Okay? So if you want to go to scene 3, you again say yes. Okay? Then you are on scene 3. So when you are on scene 3, bisag unsa pa na imong itubag, may yes or a no, okay, you will always be in scene 3. Okay? So nakita ninyo guys. Now, mas dali man na conditional statement, sir, if then else na lang. But the problem with if then else man good guys, if there are changes that you would like to incorporate on your program, dako kay kag mausab diri, di ba? Okay? Now, look at this. I will modify the program such that if I say yes, okay, instead nga mubalik siya sa scene 3, okay, I will let it go to scene 1. So murabag pabalik ko nimo siya if you say yes. Okay, kung no, S3 ra gyapon. Now, asa na nako siya usbon? Okay, where would I change that on my program? Do I need to change this? Switch statement? No. Do I need to change this part of the code? No. What I will be changing is this part here. Okay? More na usbon ako. So imagine if let's say for example, na ay mga changes ngayon mo hang incorporate dire. Let's say for instance, if you say no, instead of going back to S2, it will instead go here. If you say no. Okay? Diba? See how easy it is for us to change that. Okay? So if you're on scene 2, so 0, 1, 2, and if you say no, instead of going to scene 2 again, adto kag scene 1, kanira usubon nato. Boom. Okay? So, oops. Close that in. Okay. So right now, with that modification na to ang gi-integrate sa to ang program, okay, so na to ang subayon, if answer tawag again, so to no, okay, agto kag scene 2. So kung mutubag pa kag no, okay, so which is, wait, nabutangan mag-2. Wa na to matrap ang mga possible error. Okay? So, if let's say, for example, sa ganito, musulti kag no, that means 0. So, agto kag scene 2. So, if you're on scene 2, mutubag gihapon kag no. So, you go to scene 1. If you're on scene 1, mutubag ka og no gihapon, balik na pud ka og scene 2. And from scene 2, if you answer with a yes, you go to scene 3. And if you want to go back to scene 0 again, then all you need to do is just answer with a yes. Okay? So, kana siya guys. So imagine if you are trying to create a game. Okay? So when you create a game, importante kay magplano. Okay? So you can actually also define your game instead of using a flowchart. Ang flowchart man gud medyo specific kaayo. Okay? Where to go next, okay? Unsay button. This is like a more generic approach, okay? Like for example, when you're creating a game, you break your game into different scenes, okay? So pwede nga nimong button. Just like kana inyong mga choose your own adventure in a game or kato sa to, who wants to be a millionaire. Okay? Kung masayop ni mo kuha, asa man ang sunod na question kwaon. Okay? So, a more complex game would actually involve more scenes, okay, as compared to this very simple example that we have. Okay? So, more na siya guys, ang power sa gitawag nato nga two-dimensional array. Okay? So, pwede nimo ma-map actually, kanang let's say for instance, you want to you want to create a game wherein let's say naing aning feature like it's like a map. Okay? Nga map nga mura bag mo branch out into two path. Okay? So something like this. Okay? So pwede ka ka-create og ingani nga mga games guys. Okay? So just think of this kanang mga branching point as your scenes. O ang mga answer nimo, okay, would be your answers. Okay? So kaning mga branching, you call this as the state. Okay? So pwede na nimo ma-predict pila ka book rows, pila ka book columns. In this case, since I only have two branches, so that means ang question is answerable only by in two ways, left or right, baron. So naro kay two columns. But if ever ganahan mas complicated nga maze, like for example, there are three possible choices. Like for example, ingani baron, okay? So pwede nimo ma-increase ang number of columns sa imong two-dimensional array. Okay? Based on the number of choices that you have in each state. Okay? So kani may wala na to ma-discuss na. Okay? Gamit unta kayo paghimo sa inyong game. So anyway, iapas lang nato. Okay? Pasalamat yung kaning undit manggod o Odette. Okay? Naguba ato ang klase tungod ni Odette. Okay, so anyway, guys, mao lang sa siguro na for now. Okay, pa-warm up lang daan. So, katong gibuhat ninyo nga project, maybe you might want to update your project. Okay? Gamitan ninyo og two-dimensional arrays, especially for those project that involves na mga multiple choice. Okay? So, for the course outline, I will be giving it to you next meeting na. Okay? So, kwan lang sa na siya ron. Warm up lang na siya on one of the things that we will be doing. Okay? Let's try to create an RPG game. Okay? So, ang RPG game, medyo mas daghan-daghan ng information nga dapat i-take note ninyo. Okay? So, can we use C programming for that? Yes, but of course, C programming is limited. Okay? Ang ihang pwedeng mabuhat. Okay? And basically, that's why programmers were able to create a new set of programming language para ma-overcome ang limitations sa C. Especially if you are gonna be working with games, we need to make use of this concept called OOP, or Object-Oriented Programming Language. Okay? So we'll discuss more about OOP in the upcoming meetings. Okay? So, ganahan pa mo create og inyong game? Tuhon? Okay? Kinsa may mga nag-suway-suway og himog games na dire, aside from that of the project that you have created? Naa ba? Anyone? Wala pa'y nagkuhan, suway-suway og himog ilahang game? Og nakasud na si Mr. Canonigo. Okay. Hello guys, you still here? Okay. Si Kent, naghimo na siya game. Oh, Mr. Canonigo, would you like to share? Okay, kaning mga games nga imong gipangbuhat. Ingon ni Mr. Sumalino kung gumandak na kahimo na daw pag imuhang game.
Yes, sir.
Sige. Unsa man nga game, Mr. Canonigo?
Kuan kada di ko pamda sa nahuman sa ray kay gi-abandon na pod nako. Mura siya Among Us.
Mura siya, oh.
Among Us.
Among Us. Okay, so RPG type. Sakto ba? RPG mo na Among Us, di ba? No?
Kuan sir, social something.
Social something. Okay. So, kung sa may language gamit ni Moto when you were developing the game?
C# sir, gamit ang Unity nga engine.
Okay. So, nagamit nag-Unity. So, 3D na ang tirada ni Mr. Canonigo. Okay. So, good thing. So, nanay overview si Mr. Canonigo with C#. Okay. So, unsa nakita nimo Mr. Canonigo ang advantage ni C# over C?
Kuan sir, ay mga functions na kuan dali ra mabuhat sa C# kaysa sa C.
Okay. So, nag-apply na ka og kuan, nag-apply ka og OOP nga concept when creating your game?
Yes sir.
Okay. Advance kay si Mr. Canonigo. Na siya understanding sa OOP. So, unsa na ninyo undergrad?
Kuan ra sir, nag self-study ra kog ako.
Nag-self-study lang. Okay. So, kana guys. Okay? So, if you want to learn more about programming, okay, one thing you should do is try to conceptualize a project nga buhaton nimo. Okay? So, once na kay project nga buhaton manggod, okay, daghan kay kag pangutana ana. So, kung na kay daghang pangutana, nya mapugos ka og mangita og tubag, di ba, sa imong mga pangutana. So by then, you will be exploring more on the language. Okay? So mao ra na siya ang technique if you want to learn more about programming. Okay? You create a small project nga imong buhaton. Okay? Kay kung anhi lang gud ka mag-agad sa let's say klase, okay? There might be questions nga naa sa imuhang ma-encounter during creations yung project nga dili ma-tackle during classes. Kay sa klase man gud usually specific ra ang route nato ang agian. Okay? So na yung mga pangutana like for example kana development sa games baron nga dili nato maagian in this class. So for example, si Mr. Canonigo naggamit na siya Unity. Okay? So in this class, we will be focusing more on C#. So basically, dili jud ta mo tackle on game development. But the concepts nga mukhang makatunan in learning OOPs and the programming C#, magamit niya nimo if you want to move on to game development. Okay? So Unity is also a very powerful platform for you to create cross-platform application. Okay? So, most na advantage but maulagi, bugat-bugat, no? Kamang Mr. Canonigo, ang Unity sa imong computer?
Paspas rawan sir. Kay
Paspas ra?
buyag. Buyag kusgan ra mga computer.
Usgan din computer. So, I would assume nagkuha na ka, no? i7.
Ryzen sir.
Ryzen, Judy. Nya, pilay RAM.
16 gig.
So, 16 gig sa DI. Nya, na po yung video card, no?
Yes sir.
Na po yung video card. Mao dahil hindi mo kamang ang computer ni Mr. Canonigo. So, ampay kaayo for game development or graphics rendering kung mag 3D. Okay, so imagine 16 gig. Okay, ang ako ataon dire 8 gig nya Intel nga i5 6th gen pa jud niya kay gamit. Okay, so sa Ryzen nimo Ryzen pa jud na siya unsa man ang Ryzen 9.
Ryzen 5 sir.
Ryzen 5. Pero ano naman sa kamo 8 cores naman sad ng Ryzen 5. Unsa nga generation?
Kato ning kuan Ryzen 5 3500 katong 6 cores 6 threads.
Kusog na Okay. So muna ayaw sayang nga. Okay, so aside from playing games, use it also to create your own game. Okay? So, anyway, anha lang sa ta for now. Okay, we'll be meeting again. Kano sa sunod meeting na to? Wednesday. Kasi klase ganin natin, guys. Schedule lang. OS. Wednesday. Okay, so I'll be meeting you again on Wednesday. Okay, so hopefully walay meeting na pod ani nga time. Okay. So before we go, can we turn on again all our cameras for our attendance, please? Oh, nabali si Mr. De La Victoria. Okay. So while nakuha ta sa uban nga maka-open silang cam. Okay. May pa si Mr. Canonigo na makaw na.
Mahaw ta ninyo.
Murag, ang sa tigikuha daw ni mo Mr. Canonigo? Nga allowance?
Kuan ka lang financial assistance para sa mga naapektahan sa audit, sir.
Naapektuhan sa?
Mga partially damaged sa audit.
Asa ninyo ha?
Sa Konsolasyon, Kasili.
Ano ba? May pa mo, gihatagan lagi mo. Diri sa Cebu City, wa may na, kuan? Wala may nadungog.
Gibulsa, sir. Gibulsa.
Lagi kipang bulsa man, katong 5,000 nga allowance, 10,000 nga last year, wa dyan na dawat. O Mr. Ligis, dili mao ni mga camera, Mr. Ligis. Ronald. Ronald. You. Okay. Wait na to gamay si Mr. Ronald. Okay, so mora to guys, download na lang mo daan ng Visual Studio. Okay, or Sharp Develop for those computers medyo hinay o specs. Okay, but if ang specs sa inyong computer ingato 16 gig Ryzen 5 or i5 Gen 11 and above, might as well download mo og Visual Studio. But of course, I think naiuban dire wala pa magbalik ang internet connection. Kung limited ang internet connection, just go with Sharp Develop for the meantime. Okay, sige. While we are waiting for Mr. Ronald. Okay. Asa na dapita inyo sa Konsolasyon kanang Kasili?
Sir.
Dool sa dool sa watershed ba na?
Kuan sir, sa Puda dapit.
Fuda. Dool ra sa Fuda. Dili jud dito sa katong Kasili nga barangay hall.
Mas dool kasi Barangay Hall, sir.
Mas dool sa Kasili barangay hall. Sudlunon pa jud eh. Okay, nawagtang na si Mr. Ligis. Okay. Asa naman si Mr. Gabato? Very dark ang ihang place. Tora di ay against the light. Mauday ngit-ngit. Okay, tora. Nanas Mr. Ligis. Okay, at my count, everyone, show your face. At my count, 1, 2, 3, chess. Oh. Budget lang ha. Kung nakuha ba. Kay lahi ang ako ang computer na gigamit karon. Screenshot. Okay, so okay na. So, thank you everyone for the time. So, schedule na to for our class would be every Monday and Wednesday, 9 to 12 a.m. Okay? So, ang style lang sa siguro sa itong klase, probably mga 1 to 2 hours is more on discussion, and ang rest of the hour, gamito na to for activities. Okay? So, yan na lang. So, for next meeting, okay lang kung di pa ninyo mahuman og download si Visual Studio, since our discussion will be mainly more on concepts pa man. Okay? So, pwede rag di pa mahuman og download si Visual Studio. Okay? So, that's it for now, everyone. So, I'll be seeing you again this coming Wednesday. So, it seems like okay na yung internet connection dira. And hopefully makalahutay ra until the end of the semester. So with that said, goodbye and God bless everyone. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir. God bless.
Bye, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Kung nag